Everyone thinks reaching the summit of Mount Everest is the ultimate achievement, the finish line, the moment when you've conquered the world's highest peak and can finally breathe easy. They're dead wrong. In fact, there's a chilling reality that every experienced mountaineer knows. Summiting Everest is only the halfway point, and what comes next is where the mountain truly claims its victims. But here's what almost no one talks about. There's one specific zone on the descent where more climbers die than anywhere else on the entire mountain. It's not the death zone. It's not the 𝐂𝐚𝐻𝐽 Icefall. It's a place that seems almost innocent compared to the terrors above it. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this location has become Everest's true killing field, and why even the most experienced climbers fear it more than the summit push itself. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of mountaineering's darkest truths, the deadly descent from Everest summit, and the specific location where the mountain turns from challenging to catastrophic. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because we explore the untold stories behind extreme adventures, survival situations, and the human limits of endurance. But there's something even more disturbing, something that explains why even legendary mountaineers die in this zone. Something about human psychology and physiology that creates what experts call the perfect trap. And no, it's not just exhaustion. It's not just a lack of oxygen. It's something more insidious, more unexpected, and more deadly than most people realize. Let's get into it. Let me paint you a picture of what summiting Everest actually looks like. You've been climbing for weeks, acclimatizing, suffering, watching people turn back or get evacuated. You've spent somewhere between $40,000 and $100,000. You've risked frostbite, avalanches, and altitude sickness just to get within striking distance of the top. Then comes summit day. You leave high camp, usually camp 4, at around 26,000 feet sometime around midnight. You climb through the darkness, your headlamp barely cutting through the wind and snow. Every step is exhausting. Your body is literally dying at this altitude. Your brain is operating at a fraction of its normal capacity. You're burning through your oxygen supply with every labored breath. Hours pass. 6, 8, 10 hours of climbing. And then, if you're lucky, you reach it, the summit, the top of the world. 29,032 feet above sea level. You take your photos, you cry, you hug your climbing partners, you call home via satellite phone. For 15 minutes, maybe 20, you feel like you've achieved the impossible. And that's where the trap closes. Because here's what your oxygen-deprived brain isn't fully processing. You're now at your weakest point in the most dangerous place on Earth, and you have to descend thousands of vertical feet before you're even remotely safe. According to the analysis of Everest fatalities, approximately 80% of deaths occur during the descent, not the ascent, the descent. Let me say that again. 8 out of 10 people who die on Everest die on the way down. Why? Because by the time you summit, you've been in the death zone for hours. You're exhausted. Your oxygen is running low or out completely. Your decision-making is impaired. Your physical coordination is shot. And psychologically, you've already achieved your goal. The motivation that drove you up the mountain has evaporated. Plus, you're climbing down, which is actually more technically difficult than climbing up. You can't see your foot placements as easily. You're more likely to trip or stumble. And if you fall, you're falling not up. In 1996, the deadliest day in Everest history at the time, 8 people died. Most of them submitted successfully. Rob Hall, one of the world's most experienced Everest guides, reached the top. But he died on the descent, stranded near the summit, too exhausted to continue down. In 2019, 11 people died in a single season. Almost all of them submitted first. David Sharp summited solo in 2006. He died on the way down, sitting in a small cave that's now known as Green Boots Cave, after another climber who died there. The pattern is clear and brutal. The summit doesn't kill you. What kills you is trying to get back down. But there's something even more specific we need to talk about. To understand where Everest truly turns deadly, we need to map out the descent route and identify the key danger zones. From the summit, climbers descend the southeast ridge. This is the most common route. You pass back over the Hillary Step, or what's left of it, after the 2015 earthquake. You traverse back across the narrow, exposed ridgeline, where a fall means a 10,000-foot drop on either side. Then you descend to the south summit at about 28,700 feet, still firmly in the death zone, still above the altitude where commercial jets cruise. From there, you continue down to the balcony, around 27,600 feet. This is a relatively flat area where many climbers stop to rest and change oxygen bottles. Then comes the real test. You face the triangular face, a steep, icy slope that requires careful crampon work and ice axe technique. One mistake here, and you're sliding thousands of feet to your death. After that, you reach the southeast ridge proper, following fixed ropes down toward Camp 4. And then you hit it. Remember that deadly location I mentioned earlier? We're getting close to it now. But first, you need to understand what's happening to your body and mind at this point in the descent. By now, you've been in the death zone for somewhere between 12 and 20 hours. Your body has been cannibalizing itself for energy. You've probably lost 10 to 15 pounds in water weight alone. Your cognitive function is impaired to the point where you might not recognize faces or remember basic information. If your oxygen runs out, and many climbers do run out on the descent, your condition deteriorates rapidly. Within minutes, you can go from functioning to completely incapacitated. Your fine motor skills are gone. Tying a knot or operating a carabiner becomes nearly impossible. Your vision narrows. Some climbers report tunnel vision or seeing spots. And then there's summit fever, hangover. You've achieved your goal. The drive is gone. Some climbers describe it as hitting a wall suddenly. All the adrenaline drains away, and you realize how truly exhausted you are. The mental fortitude that got you to the summit simply evaporates. This is when people start making fatal mistakes. They unclip from the fixed ropes to move faster. They skip safety checks. They take unnecessary risks because they just want to get down, get to camp, get safe. Experienced guides call this the danger zone mindset. Climbers become reckless in their desperation to descend quickly. And we haven't even talked about the weather yet. On Everest, conditions can change in minutes. The weather window that allowed you to summit might close while you're descending. Suddenly, you're climbing down in whiteout conditions. You can't see the fixed ropes. You can't see the cliff edges. You can't see anything beyond a few feet in front of you. This is when people wander off route. This is when they fall. This is when they sit down to rest and never get back up. So where exactly is Everest's true killing field? Where do more climbers die than anywhere else during the descent? The answer might surprise you. It's between Camp 4 and Camp 3, specifically the Lhotse Face. Wait, what? Not the summit area? Not the death zone? Nope. The Lhotse Face, between roughly 26,000 and 24,000 feet. Let me explain why this seemingly lower section is actually where Everest becomes most deadly. The Lhotse Face is a massive, steep wall of glacial ice. It's approximately 3,700 feet of relentless 4-5 to 6-0 degree climbing. On the way up, you're fresh, relatively speaking, you're motivated, you're careful. On the way down, you're a disaster. You've been climbing for potentially 20 plus hours straight. You've been above 26,000 feet for the majority of that time. Your oxygen is running out or already gone, and now you have to descend this massive ice wall, facing outward, trusting your crampons and your ice axe, and your rapidly deteriorating judgment. Here's what makes the Lhotse Face the true killing field. First, it's still high enough that you're suffering severe altitude effects, but low enough that climbers start to relax psychologically. They think, I'm below Camp 4, I'm out of the death zone, I'm safe now. They're not. Second, the descent requires constant technical skill. Every step is a potential fall. You're clipped into fixed ropes, but if you slip, you're gonna swing hard into the ice face. People break bones, get concussions, or worse, lose their grip entirely and fall past their anchor points. Third, this is where bottlenecks happen on busy summit days. You're stuck waiting, clipped to a rope on a 45-degree ice face, burning through your remaining oxygen while dozens of slower climbers descend ahead of you. Fourth, and this is critical, this is where exhaustion truly takes over. Your body has been running on fumes. Many climbers hit what they call the wall right around this section. They literally cannot move anymore, they collapse. And if you can't move on the Lhotse Face, you're going to die there. In 2019, a traffic jam on the Lhotse Face contributed to multiple deaths. Climbers were stuck for hours, exposed, freezing, running out of oxygen. Some of them simply couldn't continue after the delay. In 2014, an avalanche struck the Lhotse Face area, killing 16 Nepali guides. It remains the deadliest single incident in Everest history. Countless climbers have fallen from the Lhotse Face over the decades. Some die instantly. Others slide thousands of feet. Their bodies never recovered. Here's the psychological trap. By the time you reach the Lhotse Face on descent, you're below 26,000 feet. You might be thinking, I'm almost there. Camp 3 is just below. I've got this. But you don't have this because you're still at nearly 25,000 feet higher than any mountain in the world except a handful of Himalayan peaks. You're still in an environment that's actively killing you, and you're more exhausted than you've ever been in your life. This false sense of security causes people to make mistakes. They rush, they get careless, they trust that they're almost safe, and that's when the mountain gets them. Frances Arsenteieff, known as Sleeping Beauty, died during her descent in 1998. She made it past the summit, past the South Pole, and was descending when she became separated from her husband and ran out of oxygen. She spent the night exposed on the mountain. The next day, climbers found her alive but frostbitten and barely conscious near the Lhotse Face area. She died shortly after, and her body remained on the mountain for years. Scott Fisher, one of the guides in the 1996 disaster, collapsed from exhaustion during the descent. He made it below the death zone but couldn't continue. He died on the southeast ridge, not far above the Lhotse Face approach. The pattern repeats. Experienced climbers, successful summits, but death comes on the descent, often in this critical zone where altitude meets exhaustion meets technical difficulty. Here's something that might shock you. Experience doesn't necessarily save you in the descent danger zones. Rob Hall has summited Everest 5 times before 1996. He was one of the world's most respected high-altitude guides. He died on the descent. Scott Fisher had climbed some of the world's most dangerous peaks. He died on the descent. Babu Chiri Sherpa, who set a record by spending 21 hours on the summit without supplemental oxygen, died on Everest in 2001 after falling into a crevasse near Camp 2 during a descent. These weren't inexperienced weekend warriors. These were elite mountaineers who understood Everest better than almost anyone, and the mountain still killed them. Why? Because at extreme altitude, experience can only take you so far. Your body doesn't care about your resume. Hypoxia doesn't care that you've summited 8,000ers before. Exhaustion affects everyone. In fact, there's an argument to be made that experience can be a liability. Experienced climbers might push harder, take more risks, and trust their bodies to keep going when they should turn back. They might ignore warning signs because they felt bad before and push through. There's also what researchers call summit fever, the overwhelming compulsion to reach the top even when conditions suggest you should turn back. Experienced climbers aren't immune to this. Sometimes they're more susceptible because they know what they're capable of and can't accept failure. This is why good expeditions have turnaround times. A common rule is that if you haven't submitted by 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., you turn around, period. No exceptions. Why? Because even if you could make it to the summit after that time, you won't make it back down safely. You'll be descending in darkness, in deteriorating weather, with no oxygen, with no reserves of strength. Rob Hall broke this rule in 1996. His client, Doug Hansen, reached the summit around 4 p.m., way too late. Hall stayed with him, both died. So what should climbers do? How do you survive the descent? First, save energy on the ascent. Some climbers push so hard going up that they have nothing left for the descent. Experienced mountaineers climb conservatively upward, knowing they need reserves for coming down. Second, manage your oxygen religiously. Many deaths occur because climbers run out of oxygen during the descent. They use too much on the summit push, or they spend too long on top celebrating, or they don't account for delays. Third, stay clipped in, always, even when it's slow, even when it's frustrating, even when you think you can move faster unclipped. The fixed ropes are the only thing between you and a fatal fall. Fourth, recognize when you're impaired. This is incredibly difficult because cognitive impairment prevents you from recognizing that you're cognitively impaired. But if you have lucid moments, use them to make conservative decisions. Fifth, and this is critical, be willing to turn back, even from the summit, even after achieving your goal. If you don't have the oxygen, the strength, or the weather window to descend safely, you need to stay put and call for rescue, or accept that you might not summit this time. The climbers who survive Everest are the ones who treat the summit as the halfway point, not the finish line. They're the ones who save their energy, manage their resources, and make conservative decisions even when it means disappointing themselves. Because here's the brutal truth. Everest doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't care about your training or your sacrifice or how much money you spent. It only cares whether you make smart decisions in an environment designed to kill you. And if you forget that during the descent, the mountain will remind you. So let's come back to where we started. You don't die at the summit of Mount Everest. You die trying to get home. The summit is a beautiful, terrifying trap. It makes you think you've won. It floods you with endorphins and accomplishment and relief. And while you're celebrating, the mountain is preparing to kill you. The Lhotse Face, that steep technical descent between Camp 4 and Camp 3, has claimed more lives during descent than any other single section of the mountain. But it's not just the Lhotse Face. It's the entire descent, the hours of exhaustion, the depleted oxygen, the failing bodies and minds. If you ever find yourself on Everest or any serious mountain, remember this: getting to the top is optional. Getting down is mandatory. Every summit is successful if you come home alive. Every summit is a failure if you don't. The real achievement isn't standing on top of the world for 15 minutes. The real achievement is making it back down to tell the story. If you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into extreme adventures and survival situations. Drop a comment below. Would you ever attempt Everest knowing what you know now? Or what other mountains should we cover? Check out the videos on screen for more Everest content, including what happens to your body in the death zone and the deadliest disasters in climbing history. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. And remember, the summit is only halfway.